being expressed here is the innocence in everything, including death, the innocence in separation, the innocence in the suffering, the innocence in the madness, the innocence in the chaos, the innocence in war, the innocence in everything, the innocence of the me, the innocence of separation, the innocence of everything that seems to be the opposite of innocence is also innocence. There's a tendency in stories in non-duality to judge and condemn the identification as an individual, as a separate individual, as a me. There's an urge, there's this thinking that it has to be, you have to get rid of something that's separate, a desire to let go, or the dropping of the me. But that's also innocent. So what's appearing is innocent. The chatter, the mental anguish, the separation, the despair is all innocent. There's this misunderstanding and a wrong assumption that what's appearing, since it doesn't feel free, since it feels separated, since that there is a me, that there is this obstacle to liberation, that it has to die. How do I get rid of the me? How do I dissolve this? It's all innocent. It's like when you tell a kid a joke and they take it really seriously and they cry. So the joke is that there's this assumption that there is a separate me. Or telling a kid that their imaginary friend is wrong. But it's really innocent. Imaginary friend, imaginary friends, the imaginary me. It's just an extension of that kid having an imaginary friend. It's pure and innocent. So since it's pure and innocent, why does it have to be destroyed or eliminated, or death to the ego, death to whatever is not? How come it becomes a burden? How about come it becomes a condemnation? How come identification becomes wrong? Especially when a speaker says that, well, there's a me there, then obviously it feels wrong already. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's also innocence playing separation. That's also innocence playing hide and seek, appearing as a me. When someone says, well, there's still a me here, well, there was never a me. It's imaginary. But the tendency when there is a me is that it's something that is wrong. There's something wrong with me because I have me. There's something that is missing because there's still a me. Is there something wrong with Mickey Mouse? Is there something wrong with Santa Claus? They're all imaginary, but there's nothing wrong with it. So the innocence that I'm talking about is appearing as everything. Since it has never been separated, it's never, ever, ever wrong. So there's nothing wrong with the me because there's no me. But even if there's an identification or feeling that there's this burden of a me, then there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with death. There's nothing wrong with birth. There's nothing wrong whatsoever. Yet there's this desire to segregate, to separate. But who's wanting that? What's wrong with perfection? So when it's said that it's already it, this is appearing as complete, this is already non-negotiable. And then the negotiator will say, well, there's still a me here. It's innocent. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a label of something that's a phenomena that's arising and disappearing, arising and disappearing. It's not permanent, but because the tendency is to hold on to something that feels wrong, there's nothing wrong or right, by the way, it's just an illusion. So when there's this nagging thoughts, this really kind of like chatterbox that's happening, it's labeled right away as separate. So what if that is also the innocence just playing with its innocence by appearing as separate thoughts, separate feelings, memories? Although it's an illusion, there's nothing wrong with an illusion. It's also innocent. There is a fear that it's impure. The moment that there is, oh, it came back, Emerson. We had this talk, we had this, there was no one here for like maybe 14 hours, and it came back. I said, what came back? Innocence? That's also emptiness. So what if emptiness comes back and plays again that it's not emptiness, although it's emptiness? What if emptiness puts on a costume, puts on a mask? It's still innocent. Again, there's a tendency in non-duality. The moment that someone says, well, that's the me, there's nothing wrong or right about a me. It's just an appearance. It's rejected. That's what it means when everything is being presented as perfection, including this nagging feeling that I'm still here. It's discarded. But that's also emptiness appearing as this perfection. It's always perfection. It's always innocent. So it can't be dislodged, because trying to dislodge it is denying its perfection. Trying to deny it is denying its wholeness. So everything that's appearing is whole already. There's nothing that needs to be getting rid of. Although it's nothing appearing as whatever, it's still nothing. It's still nothing. It is always nothing. So there's a preference of nothing with just blankness, but nothing appears as everything, including this, whatever it is that's appearing is already complete. It's already free. That's freedom appearing as segregation. That's freedom appearing as confined. But since everything is innocent, again, it's like a child at play that thinks that it did something wrong. And it closes its eyes thinking that it's separate. And before you can say, I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding, you're not adopted. You're always home. It assumes that it's separate already, that it's adopted. And it carries on this story of separation, that it does not belong. So the imaginary friend also belongs. The imaginary child also belongs because it's innocent. Everything that's at play is innocent and it's complete. Nothing has ever been missing. Nothing has ever left paradise. This is always it. There's never been a time that is not it, because there's no time. So even if there's no characters, there's nothing, there's always this that never leaves. This is innocence that covers everything, that is everything. So whatever is appearing is a child at play, is innocence at play, Maybe playing rough sometimes, maybe playing death sometimes, maybe playing separation sometimes. But since it's infinitely innocent, it's an infinite expression of innocence appearing as whatever. And since I showed you the video of my doggy there, even that death was innocence. It was sharp pain, but that's innocence playing separation. And there's nothing that I can do because there's no one here that can do anything. It's just at ease in its innocence. So for apparent characters that are here, that thinking that they have to get rid of the character, why? If it's not there, how can you get rid of it? If it's not constant, if it's just a temporal thing, it's. Have you tried to get rid of a hiccup? It's hard.
I have.
Have you succeeded?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you said that one time before, and I was like, wait a minute, I know how.
Teach me, master.
It works every time. It works every time. Yeah, I don't want to ruin your beautiful speech, but I'll be here if you want to keep going.
I can't, this character can't get rid of the hiccup. It's tried going upside down and everything. It just keeps on.
Oh, yeah.
All that.
There's a secret to it.
Yeah. Let me know. But there's no secret to getting rid of because it's not there. So the me is not there. The character's never been here. It's just innocence playing with its whatever. And in this completion, everything is already completed, including the appearance of this anguish that I'm still here. That's also completion. And when it's seen that it's always completion, the hold of that imaginary suffering, that there's a problem, begins to lighten. Apparently, for no one, because it's seeing that there's never been anything separate from innocence. When I say that it's always been this way, it's always innocent. It's just another word for peacefulness, for perfection, for emptiness. It's always emptiness. It's always innocent. So even that chatterbox or whatever, it's also innocent. And that feeling of contractedness that everyone talks about is also innocent. The contracted energy is innocence. The contracted energy actually is boundless energy appearing as contraction. There's nothing that has ever been separate. There's never been any separation. It's just a silly idea. Silly idea. It's like telling a kid that it's a joke. It's a joke. There's no separation. Even if the kid believes that, well, you told me that I'm not, that I'm not, that I'm adopted, that I'm, it's a joke. You've never been separate. You're always home. It's just an innocent play. It's just a play playing by itself, innocently. Because there's never been anyone to be not innocent or innocent. It's just a word again, that everything is nothing. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Or we can just chat about anything at all. Oh, and thank you, Non-Duality Police made me a song. Thank you so much. Oh, she's sleeping. Thank you. That was beautiful. Maybe I should share it later, before we end. Carolyn.
Okay, something quite quick actually. I think Emerson, I understand that everything is emptiness, etc., etc. Well, I understand
Yeah.
with my mind. Anyway, I don't have one, but anyway. But you can't deny that life is much lighter, much more fun when there isn't stress, contraction, etc., etc. And I think one wants to get rid of himself or herself because they just don't want to feel.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand. Well, not totally because, but I can empathize with that because, when there was this contraction, it felt such a heavy burden that
Mm,
it wants to get, it wants to get rid of it, right? It wants
mm,
to, but it's trying to kind of like ripe a fruit that is not ripe yet, right? It's quite
yeah.
painful, and it's
Mm,
trying to fall away from a tree that is not, it can't happen.
yeah.
But what's being expressed here, but when it's seen that even though it feels contracted and all that kind of stuff like that,
Mm,
even though it feels this it's not permanent.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, it's not permanent. And
Mm,
then and then seeing that what is permanent is the emptiness that holds all of this impermanent,
mm,
including
yeah.
contraction. There
Mm,
is an easiness about it, right?
yeah.
And it's hard to, again, it's hard to um to um to express that or to convince anyone when
Mm,
it doesn't see the emptiness. It just
mm,
feels the contraction. It feels
mm,
the burden of the
yeah.
separation. It feels the weight of the
Mm,
problem, right?
yeah.
And even if I say that the weight of the problem is also emptiness,
Mm,
even if I
but
say that the contraction is also openness
mm,
or wholeness, it can't seem to it can't seem to understand it because
yeah.
the only way that it can function is in dualistic terms.
Mm,
So what I'm trying to express here is not even dualistic. It's not even non-duality. It's inexpressible, because when I
yeah.
say that everything is empty, it
Mm,
can't understand it because it tries to conceptualize everything. It tries
absolutely.
to, and that's the hamster wheel that I'm talking about. That's the
Yeah.
never-ending loop, because in the
Mm,
never-ending loop, what I present gets looped into that knowing,
mm,
and there's no way out of that knowing because the knowing will just keep on chewing on it and chewing
mm,
on it because it tries to understand it. But what's being expressed here is that whatever is trying to understand it is also emptiness.
mm,
Then everything, it's just, it can't think in unconditionally, right? That's what I'm basically trying to suggest here,
mm,
is that see it unconditionally. That's why this is not a teaching, because there's no way of teaching that, because what's already expressed is already completely whole and complete. And I can tell you as much as I can that the suffering that is felt is also emptiness. It will never understand it
no.
because it can't. That's
Mm,
why I say it's impossible.
yeah.
It's really going to be impossible to try to capture the impossible. It's an impossible mission.
Mm, yeah.
But when it gets completely, you know what I'm saying, and this is just a story as well, but when it keeps on running around and doing this until it says, I can't do this anymore.
Mm,
And there's no one choosing to do it or not.
no.
Then sometimes it gets thrown off by saying that I can't do this anymore because there's no one doing it.
Mm,
Kind of like when I kept on saying that, oh, I will never get this. I will never get this. And that was a self-deprecating moment, right? I will never get this. I'm not worthy. Whatever.
mm,
You know what? I will never get this. This is just for a few.
mm,
But when I and I was kind of like laughing because when the apparent unhappening happened to no one, it never
mm,
happened. And I was like, that's a true statement. I will never get this because I am not
yeah.
here.
Mm,
So it's so the attraction of the story that I am real, that I have this suffering, is because the character is still so involved in the movie and doesn't notice the blank screen that it's appearing on. It's just a suggestion. It's
mm,
always a blank screen. There's nothing I can do to help you because you're not there, because this is just a blank screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Emerson.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay. Petra.
Hi, thanks for sharing the pictures of San Miguel. Afterwards, I was able to look at the pictures of my dead doggy for the first time. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's hard to say this, but even though that was really difficult, it's also seen as innocent. It's also seen
Yeah.
as it's now there's just gratitude for that storyline, right? There's this
Mm.
gratitude for this beautiful dog that was just it's an intimate expression, and almost kind of like an example of what unconditional love that I can't understand, right? Because it was always there,
Yeah.
it never left, was always loyal, waited for this character to come home to pass away. And although this is just story, none of that happened. There's just this oh wow, this love is just so exquisite, right? And
Uh,
even if it's a story, it's a story that I love so much. It's my favorite story. My San Miguel is it's my favorite story.
Mine too, but wow, I miss her so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Intense story.
Yeah, but because the story has ended.
Mm.
It kind of like when you read a book that you love very much, and then you cry. For the crying is it's all released because there's no identification with that story anymore. It was very hard, that crying and everything. Um, but now there's just this emptiness about that. There's just this love for that story.
Yeah.
There's no regrets, no regrets. There's nothing that I could have done worse or better because there's no one here. There's no one choosing to do anything. So that seems to be the difference in the end of story or death. It's just seen as a happening.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
here
and it
there's still
doesn't. It
some regret that I didn't worship her enough when she was alive. Yeah.
yeah,
That's the person. And
but that's also innocent, right? That's also innocent. So when it's seen that even that thought is innocent, and there's nothing that you can do because there's no one there. There's no doer, then the innocence just blankets everything. You're like,
mm,
okay, wow. And
yeah.
what a beautiful expression of emptiness, the doggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I'd like to share the picture, but not when we're on recording. Maybe
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Petra. Oh, sorry, go ahead. You have something more? Casey?
Hey,
Hey.
there's there's a movie called All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Ah, yeah, I love it too.
Yeah.
But it's more like all dogs never left heaven. I feel like.
That's right. Yeah. It's always here. It's always here. Nothing ever is missing. It's all complete. There's nothing lacking. So as I said before, it's kind of like a painting that has just been finished of San Miguel. So it's a complete picture now, right? It's a beautiful picture with beautiful colors and hues, and it's just this beautiful painting, and its
Yeah,
emptiness appearing as that. So when there is an apparent life happening, it's an incomplete picture. But when that apparent story ends, then there's this finished, and it could be really sad to see the finished thing because you don't want it to end, but that's what is. That's what I mean with it. There's this temporal appearance and appearance of everything. And when there is this open house, that temporal appearance just comes and goes. But when there is this closeness or contraction, as people might say, it locks it in and it keeps it. So when there's this
Yeah.
openness of everything, everything that appears, sadness, grief, loss, stays maybe for a bit but leaves as well because it's open. It's not trapped, it's not confined. So it's like a house with a guest, and the guest just comes and goes. It's not kidnapped. it's not, it's not kept in the basement.
Yeah, no, it's not a kidnapping them. It makes so much sense because you fall in love with the guests a lot of times, and
Yeah.
it's hard to see them go, but
Yeah.
you know they do have to go home, and then but there's other guests, and there's always more
Yeah.
or something.
And it's the same thing with the me, right? The character of a me. If a me, because the me becomes an imaginary friend that's kidnapped and trapped in the basement.
Yes, 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 yes. That's the secret part about it.
It's in the
I
attic.
think
The me is in the attic. It keeps on coming down,
Let me
and
out!
it's and it's gone crazy, and it and it thinks that it's real. You know, what I'm saying, but it's just an imaginary guest
Oh,
that's passing through. It
no.
comes, yeah.
He doesn't like to hear that, but yeah, he's just a ghost too, and it's all a ghost house. Yeah.
But it's actually
Yeah.
just all, again, it's just all innocence. It's just innocence playing hide and seek.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what's happening. It's just this perfection that keeps on happening over and over again. And it appears as whatever, but it's always perfect.
What about, does it ever not appear?
What's that?
I just had this thought while you were talking about when you were saying it always appears, you know, until it doesn't. And I think one of the biggest fears, at least of me here, is that what if it disappears and never comes back? Like, you know, like losing conscious. Some people think when
Oh,
you die.
well,
My friend thinks when
well,
you die, it's just
well,
forever. You know,
Casey,
it's
it happens.
blackness.
It happens every night. How come you're not afraid of that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. And
That's what I
it's so
mean.
relaxing at night, man.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's always
Finally.
afraid of its own absence, but it's always absent at night. It's always not just at night, but it's permanently absent. It's not there
Yeah,
at all. So what is
yeah,
believed is this imaginary friend that keeps it company, you know what I'm saying? That thinks it's real and it keeps on repeating itself over and over again. So it's afraid of its own absence. It's afraid of its own demise. But it's already dead.
yeah.
It's already dead. So when someone asks me, are you, does Emerson ever come back? Like, yeah, just like Santa Claus. It comes back, but it's not believed. It's
They're
just
celebrating
seen.
Emerson coming back and not Santa Claus. Emerson's back.
But
Yeah,
it's not even really back because he was never there in the first place. So in the immediacy and the intimacy of this, there is permanently no Emerson. It's just this happening. It's just this appearing. It's just the sounds coming out. It's just this apparent sensations. It's just this apparent whatever. And even that is not even there. There's not even any sound. It's just all this perfect stillness that there's this suggestion or there's an assumption that there's this sound coming. So it's like a running track of something that is not real. So the running track of the image, the visual, is like it's like a movie that's playing in a sea of emptiness or in a screen of never-ending emptiness. And whatever appears, since it's appearing in emptiness, it is not real. It's just a playback of something Kind of like the movie that I played you about San Miguel. That was not real. But it's believed to be real.
Yeah.
It's believed. It's a felt sense of, but the movie is not just a movie. See, this is where the confusion sometimes comes, that the movie is just a visual, but this apparent movie is a felt sense of realness. It feels separate to hold this glass. It feels separate to whatever, but that's also emptiness because it's appearing at the same time with blankness, with wholeness, with perfection, or the empty canvas, or the empty screen. It's always empty screen. It always leads to nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like everything's an appearance. It kind of goes back to that for me. It's like everything's an appearance. Like even if you go to the movie and that resonates and makes sense, really that whole thing was an analogy and in English spoken by someone named Emerson, which is all story and none of it.
There's not even English.
There's not English.
There's not even sounds. Not even movement. There's no one here.
Something
so this
like
is
that.
this is just this is just a hallucination.
Right.
Yeah.
It just seems, it's just one of the worst hallucinations because it seems so put together.
Well, that's what the other hallucination is, right? Because that's
it's how bad it is.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's
maybe
like,
if you take LSD, the hallucination ends for a moment.
Well, maybe this is the permanent LSD, and you can't get out of the high.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's no way to know.
No one knows.
Because there's no one here. Yeah.
That's right. Again, these are just stories. No one got high because there's no one. There's no LSD because there's nothing. It's just nothing being everything, or nothing is everything. Empty fullness. That's it.
Yeah.
Emptiness that seems really full with imaginations, ideas, sights, visuals, everything that seems to appear. All right, Casey?
All right. Thank you, Emerson.
Thank you. Sharon.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi, Sharon. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I just wanted to run this by you. You studied or you read the Course in Miracles. Wouldn't you say that a lot of what happened to you is exactly what the Course talks about?
I don't, I took the course for about 10 years, right? And really, really studied it and everything. And what seemed to be happening is that it's already perfection, but the course is saying that it's not. That you have to, you have to be in the holy instant. You have to do this kind of stuff.
Oh, I see. Yes.
So it's very prescriptive, right? It has some gems in it. I have to agree. You know what I'm saying? That the first couple of lines in Course in Miracles is brilliant, right? Can't believe
right.
It's the unreal, whatever. I can't.
Nothing
really
real will be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. That's it. That's what you're sharing right now.
Yeah.
So you're right.
If you take away the and also with beautiful statement, let's just end it with peace, because the moment that of God comes, then it becomes separate, right? It becomes something that is separateness,
right and wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong, and there's an external thing to it, right? And it's really dualistic, even if it's a non-dualistic kind of like it passes as that. But and I tried, you know what I'm saying? I was the kind of character that would do the 365 days required, and if I missed it, I'll start all over again.
Oh, you're so cute. Yeah. There is a right and wrong, but the message of the course is let go of it, because God takes the last step, and you are God. So of course, this is why I'm with you now, because I think at the end of it all, nothing happened, and all the instructions in the course, it's just a teaching, a story that might help one.
It's a teaching.
Right.
It's a teaching, but to its credit though, it actually kind of like It was a catalyst for seeing religion, but I didn't know that that was also a trap, right? Because getting trapped in it
Yes,
can
yes.
can be very. And then of course, with not just like the I think the beautiful thing, the first maybe year or something, it was very very peaceful. But the moment that I started seeking others, teachers, seeking
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
teachers of A Course in
Uh-huh.
Miracle, especially when someone starts talking about ascended masters, I'm like, what is this now? It gets
I
distorted.
know. You sound like me because I've been
Yeah.
doing this. I'm a seeker, like, I was, but, here's the thing. I think all of it helped me in some way. I don't know how to explain that,
In the
but how would I have
story,
ever?
in the story,
Yeah,
but nothing really helps you because there's no one to help.
that's right. Right. But the,
Yeah.
the apparent me did have like some really fine teachings. Now, this one to me, you have to be ready for.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you're actually blowing us all out of the water and saying, put all of it away. Because none of it, because like here, the thing is like it talks about the Holy Spirit, and there is no Holy Spirit.
No,
You're the Holy
no.
Spirit. So it's kind of like one of the things I think that bothered me about the Course is when I had a negative feeling, I was, I'm not in God. Well,
That's what
yes,
I
you
did.
are.
When I was saying yesterday
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
shake my head. That was the thing. I'm
right,
like, I have to be in a holy instant. Holy Spirit, help me.
right, right.
It's kind of like
Yeah, so
shaking my
you're right.
head.
So that's why I think getting to you and all the other speakers is kind of like the last stop. I think I would have turned this away before I knew that there's no me, really knew it. And I saw that, so I don't know. I just feel like, because nothing real can be threatened, that's
Yeah,
everything, because there's
yeah.
nothing here.
Yeah, when I
This
say that
never,
this is the impermanence. This is the permanent, and whatever impermanence appears is just an appearance. It doesn't change the
right,
impossible, the non-negotiable. I use many different words for it. The emptiness, the
mm,
innocence. It's always innocent.
right,
And no matter what you think, no matter what you did, no matter what you think you did wrong or right, it doesn't see wrong or right because it's always innocent. The
right.
uh, sometimes the pitfall of teachings like that is there is this. Do you think that there's a guide, or you think that there's a higher, right? There's teachers of
Right.
God, or that kind of stuff, or Holy Spirit. Then it causes this separateness. It causes this unworthiness, right? and
Uh-huh.
and it keeps on getting that trapped, you know what I'm saying? Because as I said, even though it talks about innocence, then it contradicts itself by saying that um you killed God or something. You're like, what?
Or you believe you killed
You
God,
believe
right?
you
That's
killed
what it
God?
says.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, it does help when it says, like, it's either love or a call for love. Because when you say it's a call for love, when you have these evil thoughts, that's it too. So that's how I took it when I read
yeah. but
studying the
but the
Course.
problem with that one is the dualist again, right? Because if
Yes.
everything is
Yeah.
already unconditional love, it doesn't
Right.
need love to call. It doesn't need to
Right.
call love,
Right.
right? It's just
Right.
it's just it's just love loving itself unconditionally. I think that's
Right.
simpler. Yeah.
That's what this whole thing is, because I see people that say that they have awakened, that have been Course students, and like one of them, I love her and her teaching's great and she's in great peace, but she keeps saying Jesus told her or Holy Spirit told her. So I
Yeah,
know,
yeah. So
right?
that's I used to follow this what I'm not going to say the name, but almost became kind of like a mentor to me. And it kind of like, I'm like, does really Jesus really talk to you? And he said yes. And I'm like, okay,
Right,
all right. I'm like, how come he doesn't talk to me?
right, right. You're like, yeah, it doesn't like
So
us,
there's
right?
this
He
there's
didn't
this
like,
separation. So there's still this imagination that's happening, and maybe
right,
they're being completely earnest. Maybe their imagination is so strong that they think that a character from 2,000 years ago is communicating through them, through the Holy Spirit. It's quite
right,
imagination, and that's also innocent. There's nothing wrong or right about that. If that's what's appearing there, that's what's appearing there.
right.
So what? But once it's seen that this is all a story, that when the collapse of the belief system, even the belief, and this is going to be difficult for Course in Miracles people, even the belief in God and Jesus dismantles, because
Right.
everything,
It doesn't matter,
it
right? It
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter.
It doesn't matter. There's no
Yeah,
more guilt. There's no more shame. There's no loss. There's no
right,
belief. So everything
Mhm.
disintegrates into nothing. And in this nothingness, what seems to appear is just this unconditionality about what's happening.
Mhm.
And there's no authority.
Right,
There's no
right.
authority.
Yeah, and
It's
the way
just the
you explain
naturalness
it,
of
I mean,
everything. Yeah, sorry, go
right.
ahead, Sam.
I listened to you from yesterday when you talked to me, and your clarity is so strong. Yet to me, it's exactly where I need to be now. No more like, because I was like you. I'm a seeker, like that wanted to wake up because I knew it wasn't real, and that's how I guess everybody on here feels. We know I guess I want to ask you, like they talk about this empty space is really the knowing or knower or whatever you want to call it. It's doing all of it, right? It's
Yeah.
just
See,
the
see,
seer.
that's another the seer or the intelligence or whatever. That's another separate idea, right? Because
Okay.
that's another authority. So what happens with this with some of the teachings is that it
Wow.
morphs or it goes underground and it becomes consciousness is all. Because or I am consciousness. So it's just God, you know what I'm saying, in a different word. So there's this separateness that felt when that's yanked out and just say that there's this miraculous phenomena and I don't know what it is, but I am not a part of it because there's no one here.
Oh,
So when there's
yeah.
just this emptiness, emptiness is just expressing emptiness to emptiness and there's no hierarchy. It's all empty. And
Right. It's
that's what unconditional freedom is. And when there's just this emptiness that is appearing everywhere, and there's this in loveness with emptiness because you're like whatever appears. For example, if there's this grief that happens, there's love there. There's this emptiness
yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
There's no blaming. There's no nothing because it's just all emptiness. And since it's
Hmm.
seen that there is no time, and this is just appearing all at once. So whatever appears is appearing temporarily in timelessness. This is always timeless, right? So whatever appears that seems to appear in time is an illusion.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
one that wakes up in the morning that makes all that kind of stuff is an illusion because it's appearing in time. And I know that there's a lot of resonance here that there is just this complete emptiness again, kind of like when I say that there's just this empty screen that everything that
Hmm.
appears in it is allowed, is
Hmm.
not rejected. And that's what unconditional love is. So the empty screen is unconditional love that can't help but accept everything because it accepts everything unconditionally because it is also itself. So everything on the screen that's appearing is also unconditional love. So it cannot reject it.
Yeah, but when you went on your last time, but with Tony and all those teachers, I think you really, by listening to these teachings, that helped the
No,
nobody
no,
that you are.
no, not
Yeah.
really.
No. It
I
didn't
love
help the
Tony.
nobody.
I love Tony and I love Jim and I love Kenneth. They're awesome, awesome, awesome people. But it actually tried to stay away from that communication so it can express the character can express authentically the way that it speaks and also delivering the same uncompromising communication. So it speaks differently, or maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't speak at all. But there's this gratitude. Although there's no one here, there's this gratitude for all of this original gangster communicators of this radical, uncompromising communication. There's this gratefulness because although they did nothing and I never got anything.
Right. Right.
And,
But
and, and,
but
and it was
apparently,
and the
yeah.
and the
But
unhappening was actually uncaused by any of that, but
hmm.
there was this clarification, right? Because there's a
Hmm.
lot of drunkenness and intoxication with spirituality, with the Course in Miracles, and a lot of the stuff. It was just drunken with that. So when it kept on encountering this communication, which is the uncompromised communication, it kept on encountering this sobriety. Like, oh man, really? There's no one here. There's no floralness about it. There's no coddling. There's no there's no saying that you are consciousness, and there's no bullshit basically. And it hating this plain kind of like, well, there's nothing happening, no one's ever been here. So that's what's being expressed here, that there's nothing happening, there's no one been here. as
Right.
as as difficult as it is in terms
Mm-hmm.
of hearing that, it also felt fresh because it kept,
Mm-hmm.
while in spirituality and in Advaita Vedanta, it kept on getting shoveled bullshit and it kept on eating it up, right? And it kept on teaching it. There's nothing wrong or right about that because that's also emptiness. But the clarity of this communication, that all that there is this, and there's nothing outside of this, and this is the peace that will never be understood. Is simple,
Right.
clear.
That's winning. When you say it'll never be understood,
Yeah.
that's everything to me, because I can't explain any of this.
No, no one can
Like
because
even
you're not even there.
right. Yeah. Well, you're like I said, you're great. You really are.
Oh, thank you.
You're so sweet. Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. Ileana goes, every story is a love story, every story a mystery. Oh, I love that, Ileana. Do you want to talk more about that? No. I just want to talk to you. I love your glasses, by the way. Yes, Casey, I called him the OG. Tony is the OG. So, Emerson, can you explain what is a me again? I think we've been talking about. I kind of know that this is a hot topic, right? So, um, let's simplify it. There's really no me. They're just basically thoughts and emotions or sensations or whatever. There's just this phenomena of nothing appearing as ideas, although no one has ever had any ideas. Um, sensations, feelings. It's just a collection of that. And others are also just, ideas and sensations. There's really no one. So there's no one aware, there's no one conscious, there's no one at all. There's no one has a choice, there's no doer. So this is just automatically happening, like a robot, like an artificial thing. But the virus, there's nothing wrong or right about a virus, is that it thinks it has a choice. It thinks it can do something. It think it can change things. And the virus is kind of like an operating system that takes over the nothing operating system, that nothing happening, into something that everything is happening, and everything is happening to me. So once there's a reboot, sometimes a computer crashes and a reboot and it comes back up, and the virus, the operating system that thinks it is operating um, the system, gets dislodged, and it basically goes, oh shoot, there's no operating system, there's no choice, there's no one doing any of this, there's no one at all. It's just the programming that runs by itself. No one is in control. It's not even an intelligence. It's just what is. It's just this nothing. Carolyn, Hello.
Hi. Sorry
Hi.
for talking. Sorry for talking so much.
No, no, no. There's no one doing that over there, so it's all right.
Yeah, well, that's right. How how I how how to explain this amazing phenomena that produce that produces a person, a character, which is sometimes here, sometimes not, and most
Yeah.
of the time not, basically. And having, I don't know, thoughts, emotions, etc., which change all the time. All the
Yeah.
time. There is nothing, there is hardly anything which is the same 10 years ago than today. So
Yeah.
how to explain this phenomena?
It's unexplainable. That's what's being expressed here. That when the need to understand this, when the want to figure it out ceases, then
Mm,
the mystery is just a mystery. There's no more detectives. The
okay.
detective is the one that seems to suffer because it thinks that it's trying to figure out something. It's trying to figure out itself, which is kind of like the great mystery. So when the mystery is just left alone as a mystery, then the
Mm,
mystery is just this phenomena of things happening that's not really happening, of things real that's not really real.
mm,
It's just this.
okay.
Yeah.
May I ask another question, please?
As many as you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
I noticed that when I am on my own or when I am on this kind of meetings, etc., I can see that there is no one. But as soon as I am in contact with people,
Yeah.
Caroline is back, and there is no way out of that, basically, because people expect me to be Caroline and not to be nobody, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny phenomena, right? That's 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 why I get like, I don't know, like 10, 20 emails and asking me, please do this weekend thing again, because
Mm,
that's the only time that I can relax or something. Or
yeah.
there's this sanity when
Mm,
there's this apparent meeting that's and the moment that the meeting ends, then the
mm,
old kind of like patterning, all that kind of stuff
mm,
becomes um it's it's um it's just what's happening as well, right? So you right now you're creating a story expecting that to happen again. So
yeah.
it's almost like a prophecy that that's what's going to happen again. No
Mm,
one knows what's going to happen after this. You might not come out of this, or
mm,
you might. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
there's this expectation of something that's unknown.
Mm,
It's always unknown, but when there's this expectation, it seems to repeat the story. It seems to go to another page of like, oh yeah, every time that I do this, it's really great. I wish he would do 10 sessions in one day. I wish he would do this. But that's just another story.
mm,
This is just a story as well. It's the same as the story as this feeling that I am back, that there's a me again. But
mm,
there's the tendency. So there's this imaginary idea that I am feel real. It gets sometimes reinforced when there's others there. So
mm,
that's how
mm,
tricky the illusion is because it's not only appearing seemingly appearing here, but
mm,
it's seemingly appearing there. But
yeah.
everything that seems to be appearing outside, like in a dream, there's really no others. You're just
Yeah.
convinced that there are others, and
Mm,
that seems to be the obstacle, right? In a dream, you can dream of like 1,000 characters in a dream. And the moment that you wake up, none of them existed. It's
mhm,
the same as what's happening. So when an apparent, you go into the world, you see, like a whole bunch of people, since there is this persistent belief that I am separate, then it gets mul- uh, magnified
yeah.
by thinking that there are 7 point or 8.5 billion separate individuals out there, and it keeps on reinforcing itself. It's that loop again, right? It keeps on
Mm,
going into that loop. So if I am real, then others must be real. And it's quite funny. There's this character that I'm speaking to and keeps on saying that, oh, Emerson, you know what? I know that there's no one here, But I wish there was also no one there. No one, no others. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, you're trapped now. Because
Yeah.
you just think that you are a higher me. Your me has gone underground and thinks it's a no me now and
Mhm.
judges other people thinking that, oh, you have a me there. You have a me. You have a me. I only like
Okay.
talking to you, Emerson, because there's no one there. But I can't stand talking to me's now. There's never
Mm,
been a me.
mm, yeah.
There's just this oops, sorry. There's just this persistent idea that there are others because it reinforces that I am here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, you're not going to help me tonight, are you? No, I'm joking. I'm only joking.
There's no one here to help you.
Yeah, I know. And there is no one here to be
And there's
helped
no one
anyway.
there to be helped.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you very much,
All
Emerson.
right. Thank you. Nothing as Joseph. Hello.
Hey, Emerson, can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So yeah, thank you for sharing all this. I get that this person speaking right now doesn't exist, so things are just kind of happening, and I wanted to share something, at least trying to get my mind around this, which I know there's nothing to comprehend, but as I as I perceive it, we're in this void, and this indescribable void, and some of us would label it heaven and hell, some of us just hell, and then in the state that nothingness is, it's indescribable, but you can use unconditional love.
Yeah.
And in this void that we're in currently, nobody here, Nancy, Karen, Linus, Mike, Joseph, we're all in this void, and we think we wake up, and then I say, hey, I'm Joseph, and there's a problem. For 100 years, there's a problem, no problem, no problem, and then boom, gone. Joseph just vanishes, and then another character pops up. Hey, I'm an alien. I live 800 years. I'm this, and then boom, we disappears into the void of nothing. And this, and these lights or these characters, the stories flash on and flash off. You know, there's a virus. There's not a virus. There's an alien war. There's not an alien war. But it's just constantly in this void, nowhere to go, nothing to get, nothing to become. And the suffering comes from thinking that this is not the void, that this is something.
Yeah, yeah. It's the suffering comes when nothing thinks it's something.
Because the story doesn't.
Yeah.
If I think, hey, I have cancer, I'm missing a leg, I'm missing the brain, all that comes and then goes, comes and goes, and then.
Yeah.
But there's just absolutely no change.
It's just all emptiness, and all of the storyline comes in and out, right? Comes in and out, and it always goes back to nothing, because it's always nothing, right? There's the constant is always going to be nothing, and the temporal is going to be the story. I have cancer. I don't have cancer now. It came back. It's I'm in whatever, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you know what? It's terminal now. Oh, it's gone. So that story will keep on, appearing and disappearing. What doesn't disappear is nothing. What doesn't disappear is the unknown. What doesn't disappear is the emptiness, and that's permanent. That's infinity. So the identification with the character seems to be that I am doing this. I was born in whatever, and I'm gonna die in that. So that is the temporary. That's the words that's appearing temporarily on a forever blank page. It's always a blank page. It's the images that appears out of the blank screen. The images changes, it becomes a horror, sometimes it's a comedy show, sometimes it's a tragedy show, But what is constant is the empty screen, the nothingness, the emptiness, the wholeness, the completeness, the innocence. Whatever you words, it's wordless actually. And in describing this, and 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 another thing that I wanted to express is that, if you think that there are others, that's just your perception. There's only one perception actually. There's only one perceiver. And that perceiver is illusion. Everyone that you're looking at are actually blank screens. There's no one behind those eyes. But the funny thing is, the one that's listening to this thinks that, well, I am here. That's the only one. There's nothing here. There's just this one whole illusion appearing as separate. There's not two illusions. There's no two people here. When I say there's no one, I mean there's no one. So there's just this illusion of a perceiver that thinks that it's perceiving appearances or whatever, but it's really nothing perceiving nothing, since it's just an illusion. There's no mind. There's no one behind those eyes. There's this idea that there's something behind those eyes, that there's a controller, but it's just an idea. Kind of like in a dream. In a dream, there is, in a nighttime dream, there seems to be, a function, a happening, feeling. Sometimes you wake up completely happy. You're like, oh, it was a great dream. I want to go back into it. It feels completely real. There's different characters there, and even time seems a little bit wonky in a dream. Sometimes your dreaming seems like a lifetime. Meanwhile, it's only 2 hours. None of it is real. The time, the space, the character, the feelings. The moment that you wake up, it all evaporates. Since there's no one here, this is just dreaming. You never woke up from that dream because there's no you. You're still dreaming, but there's no one dreaming. Get it? It's just dreaming by itself. So it's an infinity dreaming of separation. So since it's infinity, there's no one, there's no two, it's infinite. There's no numbers in infinity. It's just whole. And it's immeasurable because it's infinity. And it's unimaginable because it's infinite. It cannot be conceptualized. It cannot be captured. It's infinite. It's infinitely appearing as, it's the infinite expression of infinity appearing as a dream, dreaming of itself. I guess that's the answer, long answer to what you were asking.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Even though there's no you, thanks.
Thank you. There's no one there too. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same everywhere. There's never been anyone.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I like my room. My imaginary room.
Emerson,
Yes.
you said before you are programming like a robot, not the person is what is programming and they are the robot. Yeah.
It's just an analogy. There's no programming because there's no programmer. That this is just automatically happening like a robot. Nothing's behind it. Yeah. It doesn't have any choice. It doesn't have any free will. It's not doing anything because it's just like a robot. Artificial.
Okay.
Yeah. Or some people call it just a meat puppet. How free is that?
Actually, just the thoughts coming. Maybe you go to rob a bank at night and you don't know what are you doing.
No one knows anything. No one knows anything. So,
It's dangerous.
yeah, there's this idea, you know what I'm saying, that once there's no one that is just going to do whatever, the character's going to stay on course as a character. If it can't rob a bank, it will not rob a bank. If it's a bank robber, maybe it will go in a bigger banking spree, robbing kind of thing. Um, since there's no choice, there's no one doing anything. It's just happening by itself. It's all innocent anyway, right? But this character probably won't be able to rob a bank because it doesn't even know how to operate a gun.
Thanks God. So I don't need to worry about it.
It will say sorry to everyone. Sorry, 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 sorry. It's, you know, very sorry, I'm robbing you now. Sorry, sorry. It will get caught right away. It will wear bright clothing like a red shirt.
Because after we have to go to visit you or something.
Caroline. Hello.
Again.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. You have no choice. This is just all happening by itself.
Yeah.
And there's
No, I
really
just
no
want.
again.
Oh, there is no again. No, there is no time. Okay, well.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see that yet. You know, it's okay. It's a story. I know. Anyway, I just want to say that it's a feeling here very calm tonight.
Yeah.
It's nighttime for me.
Yeah.
It's very quiet.
Yeah.
It's unusual, so that's really good.
That's good.
But I guess one should not hang onto this feeling too long.
Yeah, there's no one choosing to hang on or not hang on anyway. It's just a happening, right? So there's no controlling it.
Yeah.
It's just a happening. It's just this easiness sometimes when there seems to be kind of like you know, when it struggles so much, kind of like, you know, when it goes to war so many times, you know what I'm saying, with itself, then sometimes it's kind of like, I'm tired, I'm gonna rest, and it rests and goes, actually it's actually really nice just resting.
Exactly.
It's so relaxing, not fighting.
So much better. Yeah, it's so much better. Definitely.
Yeah, it's just basically seeing that there's already perfection and there's nothing that needs to be changed. It's already non-negotiable, so it doesn't negotiate anymore. I'm like, okay, I guess I can't really negotiate with this because it always comes back as this, and this is always this way, whatever this is, right? So the thing that seems to kind of like gets captured in this is when this is not the preferred this.
Yeah.
All right, Carolyn.
Thank you, Emerson.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're relaxed. Sheer.
Hey.
Hello.
Oh. Can this nothing do something that give the me something else than me?
Yeah.
I just want to ask this.
Yeah. The me doesn't exist, right? So it's just it can't really function in anything else. there's
hundreds, yes.
there's just assumptions, everything is just an assumption or imaginary, right? um yeah, so it can't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I got what you said, but it was just a joke, you know.
Yes, I know, I get it.
So I mean,
You're cracking yourself up there, Sheer.
I just, I just don't know. So
Yes,
that's
no
all I
one
can
knows.
say.
Who knows? No one knows.
No one knows.
No one
It's
knows.
just just what it is.
It's just what it is.
Yeah. But anyway, I would like to ask you what about Tony Person?
There's no
Do
20
you know?
persons.
Yes, but okay, there is no Tony Person. I mean, do you know how he is? How?
Yeah, yeah. Um, there was a bad reaction from a booster shot, right? So he got
Oh,
hospitalized.
oh,
Tony.
okay.
Yeah, there was he got the third booster shot and he got a bad reaction. He was hospitalized, and they're just being cautious, right? Because he had a bad reaction, so he canceled the June meeting and everything just to be cautious, right? Because he's he's not 21 anymore. He's 22.
Yeah. But unfortunate. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah. It's
he
just what's
said what
happening.
he said. What he said, and I never
Yeah,
forgot.
yeah. You forgot.
Like you, like you said, this message. I mean, this message is just just feeling, and that's all.
It is, yeah. It's just a feeling. Yeah.
Mm.
And even that is
And
nothing.
yeah, and there is it, it really cut the belief.
Yeah, yeah. It's a belief eraser, this communication. It
Mhm.
shines a light on belief and it shows that it's not real. No, there's never been a belief system that's real because it stems from imagination.
I
So,
I just would like to say a share,
yeah, sure.
but but there was a discussion, and suddenly it's for just a moment or just I don't know how long it feels that there is really no one
Yeah, there's never been anyone. It's just not temporary. That's the permanence actually. The
because it's it's behind that you said the absent or whatever it is, because the hearing is not mine, the
That's right. Yeah.
talking the
It's not
talking is
yours.
not mine,
Yeah.
the eyes is not mine,
Yeah.
just the eyes.
It's
And
just a seeing, it's just a talking. So when there's no I anymore, it's just talking. It's just hearing. There's no ownership of it whatsoever, right? Because it's just what's happening. So since there's no ownership, there's no more separation. It's just wholeness. It's the same as the wind blowing, the trees treeing, the wind, you know, it's just the same as everything. So there's nothing opposite, there's nothing separate from it anymore. There's just this idea, this silly idea that when it's talking happening, that I am talking, that I am listening. But there's no I, there's never been an I. Because in deep sleep, when there's sleeping, there's no I whatsoever there. Or even when the character is just going about in the working, doing something that it loves, there's no character whatsoever. It's just cooking, doing art, listening, dancing. There's no one.
It's just it's the feeling is that it become, or I don't know what. Actually, everything is just allowed.
Yes, everything is just complete.
Yeah,
It's complete.
because it is, and there is no way to change something.
No,
No need
no.
to change.
Yeah, how can you
Even
say
you,
so? How can you say
even you,
something that's complete? It's already complete. Yeah, it's already
it's
done.
already complete,
Yeah,
already done. Yes,
yeah,
already done.
yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shir. It's always awesome talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Petra.
Sorry for being boring, but
No, no one's
what
boring.
Okay, no advice here for the person, but what would you say to someone who has always problems with goodbyes and parting?
Um, there's no one that's saying goodbye. There's no one that's parting. There's no one that's separate. There's never been anyone. So again, the moment that I am separate, the I enters into separation. It goes into further separation, right? So it's already there's already this apparent illusion of separating. So for example, someone saying goodbye, and then the moment that I am separate, it then gets into this multiple, and getting stuck in this page of goodbye, right? Because it can't seem to say goodbye, because it feels separate. It's not. There's no one choosing it anyway, right? There's no one choosing to accept it or not. But it's just what's happening. That's also the phenomena of this, right? Although there's no separate, there's this really heavy feeling of separation that repeats over and over again. And that's also what's happening. It's also what is. Meaning that maybe, and this is just a story, the love is so deep that the separation is deep. Yeah. Although that's just a story as well. Yeah. But in the story, that seems to happen. Yeah. There's never been any goodbyes, really, if you really look at it. Because it's something that you never had. If everything is an illusion, you never had it in the first place. But when you trap the illusion and to think that you can hold on to it, then you create this suffering, right? Although there's no you to create it, there's a creation of this apparent contractedness, because you close all of the doors in the house and trap it. And it just means that the love is deeper, the love is strong, but there's nothing wrong or right about that. But once it's seen that that's just what's happening, then you've never had anything in the first place, so you can't say goodbye to it in the first place because you never had it. Nothing has ever happened.
Can you repeat? Nothing's ever lost?
Nothing's ever lost, yeah. Yeah. Everything still appears.
And I never had it in the first place.
You never had it in the first place, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels good. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Beautiful view there, Petra. So there's only this unknowable presence, but with no one present in it. Again, there's only this unknowable presence, but there's no one present in it. And that's what is. And this is all that there is. There's always this unknowable present that is completely unchangeable, completely complete. It's total, it's absolute. There's this permanent presence that is never, ever, ever, ever disturbed by any stories, any stories, any stories, any stories. In this unknowability, in this unknowable presence, everything appears. And then what appears seems to want to know itself, although it's unknowable. It tries to figure out what cannot be figured out. It tries to solve the mystery, although it's unsolvable. It tries to disturb the peace, although the peace is unwavering. This unwavering peace that everything appears at is the permanence that is unknowable. It's the presence that is immovable. It's the one without the narrative, without the stories. It's the blank page. It's the empty canvas. It's in everything. So the blankness, the blank page, the emptiness, the empty canvas appears in everything because it is everything. It's not separate. There's never been any separation. So whatever seems to appear, stories, emotions, feelings, pain, suffering, is also it. It's also empty. But since there's this unconditional love, unconditional peace, unconditional freedom, it is never ever disturbed by that. Because all of these appearances, stories, feelings, emotions, pain, and suffering are all impermanent. They're not really real, but it feels real, but they're not permanent. So all of these assumptions that everything is real and denial of the unreal, the unchangeable, is just what is. Even the assumptions that this is happening is also it. Because what's appearing cannot be defined, cannot be categorized, cannot be labeled. So it appears as whatever appears. And whatever appears is this completion, is this totality, is this absoluteness. And there's nothing ever been separate. It's completely without a source. It's not external, it's not internal, because it's never separate. It doesn't have an inside or an outside. There's nothing to figure out because it's appearing in everything. It's a billion things and it's also nothing. It's a trillion things and it's also zero. There's nothing that's ever been real because real is just imaginary. There's nothing that's ever been true because true is just another statement. There's no true or false, good or evil, this or that, pain and suffering. They're just all words labeling something that cannot be labeled. And in this wholeness, the appearance of separation is accepted because the appearance of separation is also wholeness appearing as whatever it is. So there's nothing to figure out. It's impossible to figure out. And there's just this phenomena of the unknowable arising, disappearing, playing. Whatever it is happening is this complete unknown, this mystery. All that there is this, and there's nothing happening. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been quite an awesome 2 days. There's going to be a breakout room at the end, and this has been, thank you so much. I'm going
Emerson,
to do this.
really nobody say goodbye.
No one has ever said goodbye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Emerson.
Emerson.
Thank you,
Thank
Emerson.
you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, San Miguel.
Oh, San Miguel.
Aw.
Oh. Thank you so much. I'll open the breakout room right now and I'll stop the recording.